Ambassador Sylenna of the Velarii Ascendancy prepared herself mentally as the shuttle doors hissed open. Her twin hearts beat in ceremonial sync, and her slender silver-blue fingers tightened slightly around the polished ceremonial staff in her grasp. This was her first diplomatic mission to Terra, and she had studied human customs extensively, or so she thought. The humid air of Earth's capital greeted her nostrils with unexpected warmth. She took a careful step onto the landing platform, flanked by her honor guards and flowing veils of translucent fabric. The planetary leader awaited her, a tall human male named Elias Carter, dressed in a simple dark suit, no armor, no war medallions, no visible rank adornments. A curious choice. Sylenna knew humans were primitive by Velarii standards, but she had assumed at least basic adherence to formalities. She halted exactly 12 paces from him, standing with perfect posture, tilting her head to expose the glimmering fractal tattoos along her neck, the traditional Velarii sign of peace and openness. She extended her staff at a precise angle, ready for the ceremonial tapping of forearms, which was customary between interstellar diplomats. Her translators had taught her every nuance of human negotiation rituals. Or so she believed. But Elias Carter stepped forward, smiling warmly, and before Sylenna could process the motion, he wrapped his arms around her slender frame and pulled her into what she belatedly realized was a human hug. Her mind spasmed in shock. No one had briefed her for this. Physical contact without ritual? Full body proximity? The Velarii were a psionically sensitive species. Their nervous systems registered touch with overwhelming intensity. To be hugged unannounced was a cultural equivalent of an unexpected mind merge. Her twin heart spasmed into irregular rhythms. She felt her knees weaken. "Welcome to Earth," Elias said brightly, apparently oblivious to her internal meltdown. Sylenna's neural nodes flared, flooding her with biofeedback data she wasn't prepared to process. Pheromonal readings, microtemperature gradients, pulse signatures. Her mind cataloged every detail against her will. Human skin was warm, she noted. Their breath carried traces of airborne proteins. Their chest vibrations indicated sincerity. Her guards gasped but remained still, bound by Velarii code not to interfere unless lethal force was imminent. Sylenna forced herself to remain upright, though her inner vision flickered. She hadn't collapsed yet, but her nervous system was close to an overload loop. When Elias finally released her, she staggered half a step back, her eyes wide, pupils dilated to maximum. She struggled to recalibrate her cortical centers. This wasn't covered in the diplomatic briefings. Her staff trembled slightly in her hands. She tried to speak, but her translator implant lagged, uncertain how to render her stammer in a dignified way. Her ceremonial composure fractured for a moment. She felt raw vulnerability radiating from her chest cavity outward. Elias tilted his head, concerned. "Are you all right? I'm sorry, was that too much? We, tend to hug. It's friendly." Sylenna blinked, eyes refocusing. Her diplomatic training kicked back in like a safety override. She straightened, forcing her respiratory system into controlled, meditative breaths. She accessed her neural logs to review his words in real time. Friendly. The human had meant no offense. It was defection, an expression of non-hostility. "I accept your friendly gesture," she managed, her voice trembling slightly in the ultraviolet harmonics Velarii used for sincerity. Elias smiled again, this time more cautiously. "No pressure. We can stick to your customs if that's easier." Her mind spun. Rejecting the gesture would be culturally isolating. Accepting it meant exposing herself to further neural stress. But part of her, a part she hadn't known existed, found something strangely comforting in the warmth of that sudden, uncontrolled contact. "I must recalibrate my expectations," she finally said, composing herself as best she could. "Your customs are more tactile than I anticipated." He chuckled softly. "Yeah, that's humanity for you. We like connection. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's unexpected. But it's real." Sylenna's secondary brain, noted the sincerity markers in his voice. Her species communicated primarily through psionic resonance and controlled symbolic gestures. The human approach was chaotic, illogical, yet somehow effective. Elias gestured toward the waiting transport vehicle. "Shall we proceed to the council chamber? We can discuss treaties on the way. No more surprise hugs. I promise." She hesitated. Then, unexpectedly, she lowered her ceremonial staff slightly. "Perhaps one more. For data calibration purposes." His eyes widened a bit, then softened. "Of course." This time, she initiated the motion herself. Tentatively, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms, awkwardly, precisely, around his torso, mimicking the prior contact. Her sensors went wild again, but now she was ready. Her nervous system mapped the touch in meticulous detail. The warmth of human proximity did not signify dominance or intrusion. It was an offering of shared presence. Her heart slowed from panic to curiosity. They stood like that for a moment, Velarii and human, two species separated by vast evolutionary history, yet now bound by a simple act neither had fully anticipated. When she stepped back, Sylenna recorded a private log entry to her personal neural core, asterisk first contact, unexpected cultural convergence via tactile initiation. Preliminary analysis indicates potential for emotional resonance pathways previously undocumented in interspecies diplomacy. Asterisk. By the time they entered the transport, her ceremonial stiffness had softened by measurable degrees. She listened more openly as Elias spoke about Earth's history, its mistakes, its hopes. She noted his hand gestures, his facial expressions, his unpredictable humor. Her data logs overflowed with anomalies, but for the first time since arriving, she wasn't overwhelmed. She was intrigued. At the Grand Chamber, as the council session began, Sylenna found herself adjusting her protocols. When she spoke before the assembly, her tone carried an inflection that her own delegation would later analyze as unprecedented, a subtle harmonic of warmth. "Today marks the beginning of something neither of our species fully understands yet," she told the council, her eyes briefly flicking toward Elias Carter. "But perhaps understanding is not the first requirement for peace. Perhaps contact, authentic, unguarded contact, is the first step." The humans applauded. Her own guard shifted nervously, but said nothing. In private, later that evening, Sylenna replayed the memory of the hug again and again, analyzing the sensory data, not for threat analysis, but for emotional comprehension. Her neural core classified it as a new diplomatic protocol, category, unscripted affection-based initiation. For the first time in her career, Sylenna of the Velarii Ascendancy felt something beyond duty and protocol. She felt curiosity about what else humans might teach her, what other unexpected, illogical, and strangely beautiful customs might be waiting just beyond the reach of her neural calculations. And perhaps, she thought, that wasn't something to fear after all.